Hi.
Hello, good evening to all our viewers of Issues and Inspiration. Welcome to our live episode this Saturday, June 5th. This is Grace Labaguis, your co host for tonight, June 5, 2021. Yes, it is June, and that means summer begins for us here in the US. Hello, Marivir. Good evening. How are
Hi,
you?
Grace. I'm
How,
good.
how's your weekend coming along?
Very good, but it's very warm, so I'm wearing some sleeveless clothes
Uh,
just to survive the heat. But I'm
oh,
very well, thank you. So it's a
You are in
busy
New
month.
Jersey. You are in New
Yes, I
Jersey.
am in New Jersey right now, and it's a busy month because it's Philippine Independence Day
Mm-hmm.
celebrations, and there are a lot of local politics going on. um,
Yes,
that our
correct.
Filipinos are running for public office and many other social activities because New York
Yes.
is and New Jersey they are
Mm-hmm.
slowly opening up
Right.
back
And
back
June is
to but
actually,
cautiously.
yes, we're busy. Well, in our community specifically, we're busy preparing for our, a month-long Independence Day celebration, right?
Yes, yes, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
have to plug this in already, Grace.
Which
It's
one?
something very important.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing that our community would need. The Philippine consulate is offering free
Mm-hmm.
vaccines to all Filipinos. They will just need to go to the Philippine Center on Fifth
Mm-hmm.
Avenue. That is on Friday and Saturday next week, June 11 and 12. So
Okay.
just go there and have yourself jabbed.
Do they need to
So
register or just walk in? Is
there is an email
okay.
where they can write their names and then they can just go there, walk in. And on Sunday, June 13, there is the same service, but in Queens, in San Sebastian
Mm-hmm.
Church, which is predominantly very Filipino. So many Filipino faithfuls are there. So please go there. The Philippine consulate is providing this service
Mm-hmm.
together with the NYC Health and Hospitals and all the other organizations like the JCI, the NAFA, and other organizations.
Okay,
So that's an
so mga
important thing.
kababayan, yeah, go and get your vaccine. Magpabakuna na.
Right.
While, this is for free, right? So please
Yes.
register now. Okay.
Yes. And so, do
Alright,
you?
mm-hmm.
We will call in our guests tonight, and we will tell our readers, our viewers,
Yes.
of
So
all
like
the other activities that are
correct.
going on in our busy community. Right,
Okay.
Grace?
Like I said, we have a series of events to commemorate Independence Day. So
Mm-hmm.
it is very timely for us to discuss and learn more about our topic tonight. So first,
Yes.
let me introduce Miss Cecilia Gaerlan, who is a member of the USS TTC campaign. She is the founder and executive director of Bataan Legacy Society, Historical Society, or the BLHS. BLHS has worked successfully with the California Department of Education to put World War II in the Philippines in the Grade 11 U.S. History Curriculum Framework, which was approved by the California State Board of Education on July 14, 2016. This is the first time that World War II in the Philippines is mandated in high schools in the United States. She was inspired by her father, Luis Gaerlan Jr., of the USA FFE 41st Infantry Regiment, a survivor of the Bataan Death March. Good evening and welcome to Issues and Inspiration, Cecilia.
Good
That was
evening.
a very impressive work
Welcome.
you did with the California Board of Education. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for
Mhm.
inviting me. It's an honor to be here, Grace and Marivir. Good evening po in the East Coast, good
Mhm.
afternoon in California, and good
Awesome.
morning in the Philippines.
Right, right.
Happy to have you here, Cecile.
Yes.
And
Maraming
so,
salamat.
Mhm.
oh, it's very interesting to talk to you about the history that we don't know. And also, we have another guest, Grace, who
Yes,
is
go ahead. Mhm.
a descendant of our hero that we will talk about this evening.
Mhm.
His name is Rene Trinidad, and he is a currently a businessman, a realtor in San Francisco. Is that
Los
San
Angeles.
San
Francisco?
Diego. Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And he used to be a disc jockey, Grace, way
Mhm.
back in the Philippines. I remember the jazz station
RJ.
rock RJ Jacinto. So you will hear his voice. It's he's a jockey. Very good. Hi Ren, welcome to the
Hello,
show.
Rene.
Thank you for the invitation, girls, and I'm honored to be here on your show, and more than happy to fill in the blanks on more information on my Lolo, who
Uh,
happens to be the Medal of Honor holder, and
yes.
I want to thank this opportunity to help the campaign.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Likewise, thank you for your time today, Rene.
Yes.
Okay, so to start with, Cecilia, can you, well, in a nutshell, please tell us about the USS TTC campaign.
So the USS Telesforo Trinidad campaign was actually conceived sometime last year, probably, I don't know if it was November last year, between Colonel Noni Cabana he's a retired Air Force colonel who
Mm-hmm.
lives in San Antonio, Texas, myself, and also Captain Ron Ravello. He's a
Mm-hmm.
retired Navy captain who was the former commanding officer of the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Mhm.
So, and then from there, we were able to gather retired U.S. Armed Forces veterans. And now we're working, the mission is to name the first U.S. Navy combatant or U.S. Navy warship after a Filipino sailor who received the Medal of Honor in 1915, and that is Telesforo Trinidad.
That's
See.
very
Yeah,
exciting and very
interesting.
interesting, and that's
Mm-hmm.
an unknown to all of us. So, how did you discover his name? That he was an awardee of Philippine medal, I mean, of a U.S. medal.
Well, when I started researching about
Mm.
military history, the involvement of Filipinos, how Filipinos have served in the U.S. Armed Forces for 120 years, since 1901, when
Yeah.
President William McKinley wrote or issued an executive order admitting Filipinos into the insular forces.
Mm-hmm.
So there are only three Medal of Honor recipients who are Filipinos. So in 1905, there was Jose Nisperos,
Oh.
1915, Telesforo Trinidad, and during World War II in 1952, Jose Calugas. So both
Wow.
Nisperos and Calugas were from the Army, but Trinidad is the only Filipino and actually the only Asian American in the US Navy who has
Mm.
received a Medal of Honor. So he still holds that distinction after 106 years since he was awarded in 1915, April of 1915.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting.
And
Yeah.
it's such a great honor, because I knew that there were a lot of Filipinos who served both in the Army and the Navy. But in the
Mm-hmm.
Navy, even after the independence of the Philippines in 1946,
Mm-hmm.
the United States still recruited Filipinos from the Philippines to serve in the U.S. Navy from 1946 until 1992. And over 35,000 Filipinos from the Philippines served during that period. So, because of the Republic of the Philippines U.S. Bases Agreement.
I see.
So,
Thank you.
thousands of Filipinos, actually, several generations of Filipinos served in both Army and Navy. So it's a long tradition for Filipinos who have served faithfully and loyally. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's time for the United States Navy to honor the services not only of Telesforo Trinidad, but
Mhm.
the tens of thousands of Filipinos who serve in the U.S. Navy.
I see.
Right.
So, Cecil, the timeline for this campaign,
Mhm.
is there a timeline, or we have to
Well,
push more?
the final approval for any ship naming rests with the Secretary of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent a letter. First, the process actually started before that. The process starts with the Naval History and Heritage Command because that office under retired Rear Admiral Samuel Cox, that office would vet the candidate, meaning they would research uh, the candidate whose name is being proposed. And as I understand it, Telesforo Trinidad's name was actually proposed a few years ago to the Secretary of the Navy. So he has been vetted.
I
And
see.
then from the NHHC, Naval History and Heritage Command,
Mhm.
it goes to the Chief Naval Officer and then to the Secretary of the Navy. However, we have uh, an acting Secretary of the Navy who was appointed by the previous president. So he has not approved the naming of the ship after Trinidad. We were hoping that he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we are waiting for the confirmation or for the next Secretary of the Navy. I think we are in good hands because we have received um, several or well numerous support from the members of Congress and the Senate, specifically from the subcommittee on sea power, which has jurisdiction over naval procurement,
Mhm.
the naval
Awesome.
procurement program. So Senator Macy Hirono, who is the chair of the subcommittee on sea power for the Senate side, Senate Armed Services Committee, and Congressman Joe Courtney of Connecticut, who is the chair of the subcommittee on sea power for the House Armed Services Committee. They have sent letters to the acting Secretary of the Navy, Thomas Harker, to support this initiative.
That's
And
That's
great.
great
also,
news.
Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs,
Mm-hmm.
who represents the 53rd District of California, specifically the San Diego area. She has initiated a letter to the Secretary of the Navy to support this, and she has asked her colleagues in Congress to sign this letter. So I'm hoping that other members of the House and the Senate will do the same, because this is a very historic
Mhm.
moment for the Navy, because they believe in inclusion, in equity, and I think this is a prime example of how the Navy practices these ideals, these tenets. Um, so, and also, I think we still need our kababayans, or for that matter,
Mhm.
everyone, to send letters to their representatives in Congress and the Senate to support this initiative. Uh, in the United States, as of 2018, the census states that there are over 4 million Filipinos in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if every one of those Filipinos, or most of them anyway, would
Mhm.
write to their representatives and tell them that they need to do this because of the 120 years of service by Filipinos in the U.S. Armed Forces. I think we can do this. And actually, we have sample letters available. All you have to do is go to the website www.ussttc, T for Telesforo, T for Trinidad .org.
Mhm.
You can also go to our Facebook page, USSTTC.
Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you
I
for
have
all that
to.
information.
That
Yes.
was very extensive information. Thank
Mhm.
you. So Filipinos here in the U.S. should be actively supporting this. Now
Yes,
we have Rene with us, Grace, who will tell us the
yes.
personal side of his
Mm-hmm.
remembrance of our veteran who saved the lives of uh, colleagues on the ship. So tell us about your memory of your grandpa,
Well,
Lolo Coro.
actually,
Was that
Mike,
Rene?
what's amazing is that my recollection was very limited, so I wound up
Uh
talking to
huh.
my cousins and my
Uh,
uncles and aunts. And
mhm.
one of the few things that stood out and that I didn't know back then was that my grandfather, apparently, and Lolo,
Mhm.
uh, didn't have was had very humble means and didn't have the money to pay for the fare from Aklan, which is where he's from, to get
Mhm.
to Cavite. So
Mm-hmm.
apparently he stowed away on the lifeboat of the ship para to get to Luzon.
I
And
see. Wow.
that was something that I was surprised about because I hadn't heard about that. So that was a piece of information that amazingly this whole thing brought me to this point with Cecil inquiring about my lolo and everything. Uh,
Awesome.
it's
So this
amazing.
is you, right? That's you.
Yeah, that's me with my lolo holding me. And
Awesome. How
I
sweet.
don't recall the moment, but
How old were you
Oh,
then,
I
Rene?
imagine must have been maybe 1 or 2 years old.
Uh-huh.
yeah. You're so young, baby.
Yeah, baby pa. So, but my lolo was always seemed to be his happy place was when he was surrounded by family, and
Mm-hmm.
my dad made a point of bringing us to Imus every other
Uh-huh.
week to make sure that we spent some time with him while he was alive, and
Uh-huh.
it was always full of chickens and pigs
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
because they lived on what seemed to be like a farm. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're a little boy, uh, that's heaven for you. You go to
Yeah.
Yeah.
the pigs, the chickens, and everything, and that was the way of life in Imus.
Yeah.
But
Right. So do
So,
you
mhm.
remember if how your grandpa used the money of $100 gratuity?
Yes, he was rewarded a hundred
yeah,
dollars.
That was really
that was one of the
striking.
things that surprised me with the news is they gave him a
Uh-huh.
hundred dollars. And when you're thinking about $100 now compared to maybe $100 back then,
Maybe
uh,
it was okay.
yeah, my grandmother Lola Pemia actually
Mhm.
was a
Uh-huh.
businesswoman. So while he was away, I think she
Mm-hmm.
invested the money in land. I know that
Oh.
they had some land with mango groves on it. They
Mm-hmm.
had some land that had rice fields,
Mm-hmm.
and then she had the business in the because the lot at the ancestral home was kind of large. She
Mhm.
had chickens for laying eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
she had some pigs that for the meat. And so
Wow.
life was full. When we used to visit Lola, she would be in the market and she would
Mm-hmm.
sell, you know how like the feeds for the chickens and the pigs come in these sacks.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I remember my sister, she used to get these what they used to call daster for like day-to-day living kind of
Right.
thing.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother would be in Parañaque market
Uh-huh.
selling those things,
Mhm.
and I said,
Wow.
boy, she really was a businesswoman.
So
And
she made a cotton dusters or
yeah, yeah. Well,
uh-huh.
the sacks would from the
Oh,
feeds would
sako sa harena. That's
right,
what I
and
know.
then they
Yeah.
would sew it into dresses and stuff, and then
Mhm.
she would sell it at the market. That always kind of amused me. I said, "That's amazing that Lola would
Yeah.
be doing that." But
So yeah, that was an investment already for them. A hundred
yeah,
dollars is really a big investment.
yeah,
I
Amazing.
see.
it was business.
So yeah. So Rene, the medal of your lolo, who is in possession of that medal now?
The medal is right now with my youngest, my dad's youngest brother. His name is Pope, or Patricio, or no,
Uh-huh.
no,
I
Porfirio.
see.
And he was in the U.S. Navy. He was
Mhm.
there were two brothers that went in the U.S. Navy, Pat and Pope, which is what his
Mhm,
nickname is, and he's currently here in Riverside.
mhm.
He has the medal there, and for safekeeping.
I see. How
Wow.
cool. I'd like to greet our viewer, Grace, si Ryan
Yes, we do
Compendio.
have, yes, one from the
Ryan,
consulate.
hello.
Yes.
Thank you
Hello,
so much.
Ryan.
And we also have a question here from Jobert. You want to read
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So Jobert says, hello, Marivir and Grace. In 2018, there are around 4.1 million Filipinos in the US. Your campaign is commendable. Do you feel that you have gotten enough support from Filipinos around the US? So he says, in my 37 years in the US, I have yet to see any project, campaign, and likes succeed since Filipinos around the US are not active on supporting
Oh,
such. So, what is your opinion? Do you have enough support for now,
Not
uh,
yet. That's why
Cecil?
we're asking, especially the national Filipino organizations,
Mm.
um,
mhm.
NAFA, or the national. What's the acronym? NAFA.
NAFA,
NAFA.
right.
National
Uh,
Federation
Of
of
Filipino
Filipino
American.
American Associations.
yes, we have asked them to support this, and
Mhm.
actually, the San Diego one, San Diego
Okay.
Imperial Region, has written in
Mhm.
support of this. So we are asking the other NAFA regions to support this. If
Mhm.
they can ask, especially their representatives, to support this initiative. Also,
Mhm.
Filipino American National Historical Society, the Stockton
Mhm.
Funds, as it's called, has supported this.
Nice.
Philippine Scouts Heritage Society, and numerous posts of the VFW, Veterans for Foreign Wars, American Legion, the American Defenders of Bataan and Corregidor. So that's the organization for the Americans who fought with side by side with Filipinos during World War II in the Philippines. So we have received numerous support from different organizations, but obviously we need more because we need to do this throughout the country, not just in areas where there's a huge concentration of Filipinos.
Well, Cecil, there's about 400 Filipino American organizations in the Northeast region. So maybe they would like to reach out to you, or they would know
Yes,
how to help you out, where they
yes,
can reach you via
yes.
Yeah.
email or your Facebook.
Yes, we have a Facebook page, as I said,
Mhm.
USS TTC. We also
Mhm.
have a website, www.ussttc.org. And under how you can help, there are sample letters that you can copy and send to your representatives in Congress and the Senate.
That's good.
Great.
So we
Yeah.
need to push because Filipinos are
Mm-hmm.
not really known for being a public citizen. They just do personal stuff,
But
kayod lang.
if we
But we
want
have to
this
push
to
that.
happen, yes,
Maybe
Yeah.
it's
we
time
want,
that we change that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mhm.
we need to
Yeah.
Let's make new history.
Get
be
them
Right.
involved.
more proactive if we
Mm-hmm.
want this history learned by
Uh-huh.
mainstream America. We need to
Mhm.
work for this. It cannot be just handed down to us
Yes.
on a silver plate. We have to
Correct.
work for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think
And
one
we
of the
have,
things too is we need to unite because
yes,
the other ethnic groups are loud and
yes,
Mhm.
need to be heard. If we
yes,
can
Mm-hmm.
find one
And we
common
don't.
goal that we can all back up on, then I think that would be good for us Filipinos in general.
That's
getting
Correct.
right.
Correct.
representation.
Correct.
Especially because we have the numbers. We
Mhm,
are a
Right.
significant
mhm,
block in our society here in the US. So we need to optimize that number, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, let's face it,
Hmm.
being Filipino, we're not the sort to make a lot of noise and
mhm.
be the center of attention. It's kind of our nature to be kind of low
Timid.
key,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mhm.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. So
That's why we really wanted you to be, our guest for tonight because we want to help as much as
thank
we
you.
can to have this campaign push.
Well, the
Mhm,
grassroots campaign is really what it's all about,
mhm,
according to Cecilia.
Yes.
And I'm making it a point to back her on the campaign is because my dad passed away last December 23rd.
Oh,
oh,
And it's
sorry
always
about
been
that.
my dad's wish. And it's
Mm.
my way of honoring my dad's wish to get recognition for my grandfather.
mhm,
It's
Yeah.
it's not something that we brag about or something we talk about all the time, but I
Hmm.
did impress it upon my kids that listen, you have a grandfather that did this and
Hmm.
mhm,
accomplished this. You have another grandfather that accomplished a lot. Now you have it in your goal, your genes to be able to be anything you want to be.
Hmm.
mhm,
That heritage is rich. You just have to draw upon it. And that's what I always told them. We never really spoke about the Medal of Honor, but we always impressed it upon our kids and my nephews and nieces that, hey,
mhm,
you have a rich heritage. You can be anything and everything you want to be.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a matter
It's a
of
matter of
pushing the
pushing the
truth.
truth.
Right.
Yes.
And that's
And
why.
Filipinos in both the Philippines and the United States need to learn about the our great history. We have a proud and great history, and it needs to be taught in schools. And
Right.
that's
Right.
why, like with Bataan Legacy,
Hmm.
it started as a pipe dream. As I said earlier, I'm not even in academia.
mhm,
But our history is so intertwined with the United States, and it's a
Yes.
seminal part of U.S. history. That's why World War II in the Philippines is now part of the U.S. history curriculum framework for
mhm,
California. It's in the U.S. history, part of Chapter 16. So just like Telesforo Trinidad, this is part of U.S. history. And there are only about 3,500 recipients of the Medal of Honor. And
mhm,
three of those are from the Philippines. And they were part of U.S. history. So that's why
Hmm.
this needs to be learned by everyone. But as Rene and all of you are saying, we Filipinos need to be proactive. We must fight for our heritage. This is our heritage
mhm,
Hmm.
that can be passed on to future generations. We have to be proud of our heritage. And if we
Yeah.
want a seat on the table, we have to fight for it.
I
You have
understand.
to
I
speak
so
out.
agree.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
We really have to be proactive.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned here in the States, let's face it,
Yes.
the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And
Correct.
being that's really not our nature, it's
Yeah.
something that we've had to adjust to living here in the United States.
Right.
So I think it's just normal for us to maybe the older generation, Filipinos, having a hard time adjusting to it. But I can assure you, my kids are different from us, and they're
Uh-huh.
a little bit better at that than we are, I suppose.
So they're active. They have their public life.
Yes. Well, you
Awesome.
have social media, which is
Uh-huh.
totally different from
Right.
what we grew up with. And
Hmm.
it's so easy to put stuff out there that was like very unusual for us growing up. But my kids are online and everything. I'm sure as most of
Right.
your kids
Yeah. My
must be
kids
too.
too. Mhm.
Yeah.
They're all techy, no?
Yep. Yeah,
Technology
I
has,
totally back this campaign, and like I said, it's an honor. My dad. It's funny. It's going to
mhm,
be father to father to father. I'm a father. I'm honoring my
Yeah.
dad's wish for his father, And so it's a good material for Father's Day this month.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yes.
Oh yes, happy
Yes.
Father's Day in advance, Rene.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, by being proactive, let's like Marivir, if you haven't yet, let's like the
Mhm.
USSTC FB page. I did
Right.
already,
Oh,
Oh,
thank
I
you.
I've
will do
seen
it after the show.
I've seen some, an announcement and some posts there, and I've read the links that you've sent, Cecilia, on
Mhm.
email. So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you for all of those information.
Thank
So
you.
let's also talk about the Batan Death March.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, can you tell us more about your advocacy here?
So, what happened was in the beginning, as
Mm-hmm.
I may have told some of you, I had no idea about our history. Even though
Mhm.
my father, who was in the Death March, when we were young, the way he spoke about it was in jest. I think it was like a
Oh.
defense mechanism because he was a natural comedian. And the way he
Oh.
described it was like a cartoon
Oh my God.
or like a cowboy story.
Oh.
So we used to laugh at his antics. He would have sound effects of machine guns and he was funny.
Animated.
Yes, he was so animated. So anyway, I wrote a screenplay in the early 2000s called In Her Mother's Image about
Mhm.
a mother and a daughter who are estranged. And the seeds of estrangement go back to World War II. So more than half of the story was set during World War II. And
Mm-hmm.
these, the
Amazing.
events were shaped by stories that I heard from my aunt, from my mother, from relatives who were in the war, in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so a studio here in the States said, oh, it would make a good book. So I wrote a book. But then I didn't know that I had to have an agent. I couldn't get
Uh,
an agent. And I think my rejection slips were like a ream high.
Wow.
And then,
oh.
then I turned it into a play, which was more my craft because I had written plays long before that. And then
Uh-huh.
I discovered during the stage reading that
Mhm.
most people had never heard of the Bataan Death March. And so I
Mhm.
started presenting the scenes about the Bataan Death March. And then I started researching and I started interviewing veterans, and that's how it developed. And since 2012, we've organized the Bataan Death March commemoration here in the Bay
Mm-hmm.
Area. That's
Mhm.
except last year because of COVID. We had one this year, but it wasn't open to the public. And then since 2015, we've organized the World War II in the Philippines conference here in the Bay Area. The last live event was 2019 at the University of San Francisco, and we
Mhm.
have different topics. In 2019, I think we had the liberation of the Philippines. That was the topic. And so we have authors, professors from the United States and the Philippines, and and you can find actually videos of those conferences through our website, bataanlegacy.org. So, and then, but in 2014, California revised its curriculum framework. And the curriculum framework in California is only revised like every 10 to 12 years. And it
Mhm.
so happened that they were doing it. I did not know the process since I was in academia. I was not,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not in academia. So, so we went up to the Department of Education. They were gracious enough to entertain us. And at that point, actually, let me go back. There was a legislation that was passed in California in 2011,
Mhm.
AB 199, which encourages for the inclusion of the experiences of World War II, Filipino veterans of World War II. But the key word is it encourages. It was not a mandate. So when I learned of this legislation, I asked the sponsors of the legislation, "Oh, who's doing this for the curriculum?" So nobody knew. So until we learned about the curriculum framework, And that's when we learned that it was not an automatic implementation. Just
Oh.
because it's in the legislation doesn't mean that it will be taught. So from 2014, it's a public process. You attend the meetings of the history committee,
Mhm.
which judges, what should be in the curriculum framework. And
Are
then
you
on
still
July,
into it?
no,
Are you
no,
still
it was
campaigning?
approved. No, it was approved on July 14,
Oh.
2016. And then
Mhm.
the textbooks actually just came out, I think
Oh.
last year or the year before.
Oh, that's amazing.
The good part is because California and Texas are the two largest consumers of textbooks in the country. Any
Mhm.
changes in their curriculum framework, they are usually included by the major publishers because they're the biggest consumers, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen the textbook. There's not much meat in the.
Oh.
They just copied the curriculum framework. However, because of that, even before the textbooks came out, we commissioned several high school history teachers for grade 11 to create sample lesson plans which are
Mm.
consistent with California's Common Core standards. So
Mhm.
these are available for free through our website, including
Oh, cool.
primary documents because we only use primary documents. But the bad news is in California, there are about close to 70 high school districts, and
Mm.
each school district would have to implement anything
Mhm.
new individually. So that's still an ongoing thing. We're asking people to, especially if you have relatives in grade 11, if there's a PTA meeting, ask
Mhm.
the teachers, are you implementing this? This is in the curriculum framework. They say, oh, we don't have the resources. Then go to bataanlegacy.org and
Right.
get the
Yeah,
lesson.
we will do that.
Right.
That's a whole industry of campaign and a lot of community
Yes,
effort.
that's
It's
another.
doesn't, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Cecile, can you also talk about the unfinished film of the Bataan Death March? Is there
Yes.
one?
So I think you must have seen my 8 minute. It's
Mm-hmm.
a short one. So I've been trying to develop a 55-minute documentary uh,
Mm.
of World War II in the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines, which can be used by schools as a learning tool. But
Yeah,
right
it
now,
would be great.
the
Yeah.
8 minute,
Mm-hmm.
they can use the 8 minute uh,
Mhm.
film, which can be downloaded through our website or through
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. It's called World War II in the Philippines, I think the Forgotten War.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes,
good. We have
yes,
a comment here, Grace, from Frank Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
Are there images of the Medal of Honor posted on your website? This is
yes,
of Telesforo
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad.
yes. It's on the website
Oh,
and
there you go.
also
Thank you,
Facebook.
Frank.
It's on
Awesome.
Facebook as well.
Thank you,
Oh,
Frank.
Mhm.
okay.
Right.
So, Cecil, can you tell us how can we support the unfinished film? Do you need volunteers? Do you need
You
more
need actors,
resources? Yeah.
producers.
Yes, I think it's a
Funding,
good documentary.
sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors. Okay, so where can they go? Do you have a website for that?
Yes, we're a 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a website, so your donations are tax deductible. But
Oh.
it's a learning process because I'm learning so much about the contributions of the Filipinos. By the way,
Mm.
Bataan Legacy was actually started because of the lack of information on the Filipino soldiers of World War II in the Philippines. Because here in the States, most
Oh.
people think that it was mostly Americans who fought during World War II in the Philippines. On the
Yeah.
contrary,
Mm-hmm.
7/8 of the main line of resistance were Filipinos.
Mm-hmm.
Most
Mm.
of the fighting and the dying were done by the Filipinos. So
Yes.
that's how the organization started to address that lack of information.
That's really important what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And thank you for all that
Hmm.
you
Thank
do
you.
for this
Thank you. I
project.
think,
Yeah.
like Rene and I we initially started doing this for myself for my
Mhm.
father because he was in the march. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the veterans, they never spoke about the pain of the war to their families.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
Or
you know,
probably it must have been like
Well,
a bad memory that they didn't want
Mhm.
to relive, I
that's,
suppose.
that's right. Yeah, because the pain was just too much. So that's one thing that I discovered, not just among Filipinos, but also
Mhm.
Americans, is they never spoke about what they experienced during the war with their families.
it's a traumatic experience. And so, like your
Yes,
dad would just
yes,
talk about it in an animated way, like it was
yes.
funny.
Well, I didn't know the extent of what happened to him until I was reading this.
Oh.
This it was an analysis of my dad's regiment
Mhm.
during World
Mm.
War II, and it was part of a training course at Fort Benning in the officers' training school here in Georgia, and I cried when I read this.
Mm.
And then when I asked
Yeah.
my father, Dad, did this really happen to you? And my macho father broke down.
Mm.
I don't
Really.
expect that, and apparently that's the typical reaction with veterans. They
Yeah.
when they talk about it, then they break down, and just thinking about it. Their
Yeah.
friends who died, and not to mention the civilians. It's around
Right.
1 million civilians died in the Philippines
Yes.
during World
Maybe
War II.
maybe they should have talked more about it because then we would be able to pass it from generation to generation.
Mhm.
Sometimes I
Right.
feel that like for instance, our kids, the World War is like far, far away that it might
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
historic so far as they're concerned. And I think that the lessons learned from those wars would be good to pass on because
Mhm.
a lot of these things happened even before us. But I remember growing up, the Japanese in the Philippines was really like you couldn't have a Japanese walking down the street because
Mhm.
they would be chasing after him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And none of our kids realized that it got to that point. But growing up during our period, our times, there we had seen a lot of things that uh, our kids would never have any sort of idea. It's funny. My wife would say, "Oh, I remember the Betamax," and the kids would go, "What the heck is that?"
Right.
Yeah.
That is just a prime example of,
Mhm.
hey, it's been that long ago and people forget a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. And
True.
when I was until I started doing Bataan Legacy, I was not makabayan. I
Uh-huh.
didn't have any sense of
Not
Not
makabayan.
until you've
Yeah.
read all
like
the.
love for
Yeah.
country until I started
Mhm.
learning about
Mhm.
history and meeting veterans and World War II veterans. They
Mm-hmm.
are indeed the greatest generation because they did their duty for their country without expecting any returns. And actually, this continues today. There are so many young soldiers out there who are safeguarding our freedom,
Mhm.
our democracy, and we just take it for granted.
I,
You
th-
know,
Right.
I think we've reached a point wherein that has to come back, particularly because of the circumstance. I still listen to
Mm-hmm.
Filipino news every
Mm-hmm.
day because my mom still lives in the Philippines, and I still have two
Mhm.
siblings there. But the
Mm-hmm.
things that's going on in the West Philippine Sea and all that,
Uh-huh.
it will
Yeah.
take Filipinos to unite to
mhm.
get us through this. And I think Filipinos everywhere, whether it be abroad, there's so many Filipinos abroad, so many Filipinos that I think can unite to
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
have a voice, and maybe we can make some sort of change in what's going on there.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
very well said. A
Right.
crisis will unite the people. So,
Yeah.
it will take a lot,
Unfortunately, it has to
much
reach that
bigger.
point to do
I
it.
know. Sadly, it has to reach that point.
Yeah, it has to be so acute the Filipinos act
Mhm.
together.
Well, because Filipinos are usually very patient, very forgiving, and
Yes.
Forgiving.
Yeah,
Yes.
and very
Yeah.
easygoing that they don't want to make any waves. But the problem
Mhm.
there is exactly like what we have right now. It has to be something really bad to make us come out of the woodwork and unite.
Oh my God,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, and
Yeah.
by the way, I'm
And
calling on educators
Uh-huh.
in the Philippines because World War II in the Philippines is not mandated in high schools.
Really?
Okay.
No,
wow,
Yeah, I
it's
had no idea.
mandated in high
me
school.
either.
And actually, I spoke a few times in the Philippines before and after, that World War II in the Philippines curriculum framework was passed in California.
Mhm.
And, teachers approached me afterwards and said, Mom, can this be taught in the Philippines? And I said, Oh, Iha, uh, it's not up to me to do this, but
Mhm.
I'm calling on the teachers,
Board of
the
Education in the Philippines.
education, and even the politicians. We have to teach this.
Unfortunately, in the Philippines, they're trying to rewrite history.
Oh,
Yes, that's a
yeah,
problem. That's
Oh,
a
I
huge
see. Yeah.
problem.
it's so sad. But this is our greatest legacy. Can you imagine that? And the students who have learned about what their ancestors did during World War II. Oh my God, they would say, "Naku, ma'am, punong-puno ang puso ko. My heart is bursting because of the pride. I feel so much pride inside me." And
So
if
keep
we can do
pushing.
this, yes, yes.
Keep
So I'm
pushing.
calling on you, Philippines. If we
Of
can do
course,
it
And
in
Filipinos.
Philippines,
California, why can't we do this in the
we have to
Philippines?
act up,
Mhm.
act
Yes.
together. Yeah. So
Correct.
I
Oh,
think
my.
we have no more time, Grace. We have
Oh my goodness,
exhausted
yes, almost an
our
hour already.
sharing conversation.
Thank you
Wonderful,
so very
wonderful, very
much.
deep and inspiring. Thank you so
Right,
much for
right.
your
Thank
Thank
time.
you.
you
Grace
so
and
much.
Martin.
And, we hope we have, help hasten the campaign in our humble way.
Thank
Yes.
you. Maraming salamat po.
Yeah, and
Thank
we
you so much,
appreciate any
Rene.
updates, or if you have any upcoming events or, announcement, we will gladly accommodate it.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
let us
Thank
know.
you. We will keep you
Thank you.
posted.
Please
Yes,
share
more
our
power.
our
Yeah.
live cast to your legion of fans, to all
Yes.
teachers,
Yes.
businessmen, veterans.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll do. We'll do.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
and
Appreciate it.
much, Cecil and Rene.
Maraming salamat.
More power to you both.
Bye bye.
take care. Take
Bye-bye.
Bye.
care. Bye. There you go.
Wow, that's a lot of information for us, no? I
It's
am
so
not really
inspiring, Grace.
into history, pero very inspiring lahat na na-discuss natin tonight.
Yes, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stay put inside the studio, Renee and Cecil, while you are still, if you still have time.
Yeah.
So, Grace, we have a lot of community
Mm-hmm.
events that we
Yeah,
want
we can
to,
start with,
we will start
you,
with
you
our,
flashed the bakuna already, right? And
yes.
the
And
next
now,
one,
this is very important for the
mhm,
campaign of Stephen Raga, who is running for council representative in
mhm,
Queens. So it's January 22 is the election, primary election for Democrats. So he is going to need your support. Volunteers can be into training on Saturday,
mhm,
today, and tomorrow. So this is like what Stephen had said, like this is make or break. So
right.
community, take your own
June 22 is the
responsibility.
big day, right? June 22.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the election time for
Mm-hmm.
the entire New York City for
I will pray for your,
primaries, and
yes.
also
Your,
for Marini and Deirdre. Those
mhm,
are important days as
yeah.
well. Yeah, and
Okay.
also here we have this month is
Blaze,
look at the word Blasian March. This
Blasian
is a
March.
pride rally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is a combination
It's
of
a
Black
month
and
long
Asian.
celebration.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is month-long Pride month, and you have a lot of young people in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to thank Soki Lias Smith for sharing this with us. So
Yes, nice
look at
photos.
that. It's so
Yeah.
hot, but then look at that. They're all wearing shorts. They're
Mhm.
biking. So they're into
And they're
this.
still wearing masks. Some of them are still wearing masks.
Yeah, some
Okay.
choose to.
Right.
So there are the young
Mhm.
people. So look at them.
Mhm.
And so good luck and thank you, Soki, for this. And keep on pushing on for gender equality and stop Asian hate and all those social issues.
Yeah,
Right? And so what is
correct.
this, Grace?
Oh yes. So to commemorate the 160th birthday of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, the
Mm-hmm.
Philippine Consulate and the Order of Knights of Rizal New York chapter will have a forum on
Mm-hmm.
Rizal as an engineer and exile in Dapitan on June 19th at 6 p.m. So this will be a forum with Engineer Gregorio Villar and Mr. Noel Pangilinan. So if you want to be part of this, please register and email newyorkpcg.events@dfa.gov.ph, and don't forget to write Rizal as an engineer on the subject line.
Oh,
Right.
that's
Mhm.
interesting too. I didn't know he was also an engineer aside from being a doctor.
He was, and
Ah, oh
also
my God.
160th na pala niya, no? So yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
been.
Look at this. And this one too.
Oh, yes, that one. Well, we guessed that our new congen Elmer Cato I mean, that was 2 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the many topics that we discussed is that congen is making himself available to our kababayans who may need help or question
Mm-hmm.
or if they have questions about the Philippine consulate services, they can email congen directly, right?
Right.
So they
Awesome.
can email Conjenkato on conjenkato@gmail.com, and they
Mm-hmm.
can also follow him on social media. But the Conjen is everywhere. He's on FB, Twitter, and
He's
Instagram.
very
So
accessible. So
yes, very
go
much
ahead and
accessible.
tell him
Hmm.
your concerns.
Right. So he's
Okay, so
yeah,
here
this
is
one we missed. Tell us
we
about it,
missed this.
Marivir.
Yeah, this is the
Mm-hmm.
rebirth of Filipino, Terno, and Barong. This
Yeah,
is
that was last night.
Filipiniana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was last night, and I had some important thing going on with my personal life. I couldn't go out, so
Right,
this,
same here.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so this is an amazing exhibit. This
Mm-hmm.
is curated by
Mm-hmm.
no other than Erno or Muliosa,
Mm-hmm.
and you see here the collection of for Aya's
Let's
thread.
there, no, huh?
Yes, so
Nice.
you have
Mhm.
Grace. You can already go shopping there. You said you were looking for Filipiniana, right? For our future events.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. We'd like to thank Roderick Rodriguez and Melissa Alviar for the
Mm-hmm.
photos, and also Marvin de Maculangan. And here are
Oh,
more.
Marvin, yes. Uh-huh.
Mhm. So look at
Nice
those
spot.
very intricate
Mm-hmm.
intricate gowns, Filipiniana with the
Mm-hmm.
butterfly sleeves. So if you have a chance, go to the Philippine Center on Fifth Avenue and take a look at this very exquisite, very beautiful works of art by our
Is this
Filipino
a month-long
creative.
exhibit as well,
Yes,
or?
it ends
Okay.
on
Mhm.
June 30.
Right. So we
And
can
speak,
just drop by there and see
yeah,
all those
you can
nice
drop by
area.
there. And
Right.
also, here's another
Mm-hmm.
one. If like more on culture, another food thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's another flip pop up. Flip is
Mm-hmm.
by
Oh, Chef
Joel
Joel.
Ilaya, Chef
Mm-hmm.
Joel. So he's going to have it on June 9. This seated dinner
Mm-hmm.
on Hunky Dory. This is on Franklin Avenue, Brooklyn. So if you would want to order food from him, this is a an upgrade of Filipino and New American cuisine. Just go
Mm-hmm.
to flipits.com. And Grace, look at this kind of food that he offers.
Wow,
Flip,
nakakagutom.
flip dynamite lumpia. What's
Wow.
that? Dynamite
So
lumpia. Maybe it's
intriguing,
so
no?
hot.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Right.
And then squid saffron pancit. I think this
Wow.
is black ink yata to. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Baka gusto natin kumain doon. Tayong mga
Yeah, let's plan on it.
barkada.
Let's plan on it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's plan on
Okay.
it. Okay,
Correct.
so what else?
And
I
what do
hope
we
I
have?
didn't miss anything. I
Oh, we
don't.
have an important well announcement in
Mhm. For is it Pal?
Papal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is
Okay.
a growing concern, especially for our
Mm-hmm.
kababayans in LA. You
Oh.
know,
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead. Tell
Let
us
us
about
help.
it.
Yes, let us help Philippine Airlines keep its current terminal gate in LA. So what can we do to help stop the move? Well,
Mhm,
this is a concern, Marivir, because number one, PAL is the only
mhm,
airline, di ba, sa LA,
mhm.
direct flight to Manila. And
Right.
moving PAL to the new gate will cause difficulties for the passengers, especially for our elderly. Kasi daw, it will add 20 minutes by foot
Uh-huh.
to get into the new terminal. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really, inconvenient for everyone. So
Right, right.
also, I was advised that the new gate is not fully operational.
Oh,
So yes,
what is that gonna make of the passengers?
yes, and there are no vendors or food vendors available in that new terminal. So yes, let's help PAL stop the move by calling and sending emails to the mayor, councilman,
Mm,
and LA airport commissioners. So these posters will be posted on our Facebook page. So let's
mhm.
help disseminate the information. So we can help our kababayans and PAL, of course, to stop the move. Let your voice be heard, mga kababayan.
There we go.
Okay, there
Yes,
you go.
everybody is. This is everyone's concern in the entire
Yes.
U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the West Coast, right?
Especially in LA. Yes.
Yeah. But no, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot something, Grace. There's an
Oh, how can you forget the
Independence
independence?
Independence Day
Day.
celebration.
Okay.
This is sponsored by the
Mm-hmm.
Filipino Artist Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
courtesy of the leadership of Ida Bartolome. And this is
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. This is a Zoom event on June 10 from
Mm-hmm.
6 to 7 p.m. And this is also brought to us by the U.S. Filipinos for Good Governance, uh, Kalusugan Coalition, and other organizations, including Awesome Online
Mm-hmm.
Magazine. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Thank you
take
for
a
that.
look at this event, ladies and gentlemen, and be part of our celebration of our heritage.
That's on June 10. It's a virtual event also.
Yeah. So I think that's about it. I hope I didn't forget anything more. So it's been
Yeah.
a wonderful time with you, Grace. Thank you
Yes.
so
A
much.
night of issues and a night of inspiration with you, Marivir.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay. Good
So
night. And
amazing.
yes, thank you again to our viewers and, of course, our sponsors and our supporters Philippine Airlines, Orient
Yes.
Tours, Corbrador Law Offices, Alo Dragon, American Pinoy Supermarket, and FICO Filipino Restaurant. Thank you all for all your support.
Thank you. See
Bye.
you again.
And have
Good night.
good night. Have a good weekend, Marivir. I'll see you
You too,
soon.
Grace. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.